Welcome back to Jerusalem Dateline. How does the Iranian nuclear deal affect the U.S. and the world? I took part in a CBN News roundtable hosted by my colleague George Thomas to explore those questions.
The United States literally is getting nothing from Iran other than half-hearted promises that, yeah, maybe we'll comply and we'll let you maybe check out some of our nuclear sites. Iran has refused, for instance, to put its ballistic missile program on the table, George, and that's a big deal for Americans. Iran has the largest ballistic missile program in the Middle East, short range, medium range, and yes, Iran is working on ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, long range, that could one day reach the United States. So we don't get much out of this. We certainly don't get peace of mind. And really, to be biblical about it, George, this deal is so bad on so many levels. I think it's an abomination. I don't say that word lightly, and it may eventually cause desolation in the Middle East, because we've seen this deal compared to Neville Chamberlain, Hitler, caused World War II, 40 million dead. This deal could be even worse because nuclear weapons could kill many, many millions more.
John, to you, one of the biggest concerns with this deal is the fate of Christians and others held by the Iranian government for crimes against the Islamic government. Were any provisions made for the release of people like Pastor Saeed Abedini, who's being held simply for his Christian faith?
No matter what behind-the-scenes agreements may have been made, Iran doesn't have any intention of holding to any of them unless they want to, unless it benefits the mullahs themselves. Then we may see some action on that front, but it's not something that any signed piece of paper or any backroom deals are going to be followed through on.
Gary, are you concerned that these folks are going to continue languishing in these prison cells?
Well, yes, and George, it isn't just them. It's also about 89 other Christians, Iranians, that are being held in prison there. They recently released Behnam Irani and allowed him to, house church pastor, to go back with his family. He has to go back to prison on July 19th. So what about these others? What about Saeed Abedini? We've heard nothing about him. I'm afraid that things will continue. It'll be much of the same. The crackdown against Christians will continue there.
Eric, to you, sir, in Washington, D.C., how will this impact our nation, and why, every American, why should we care about this deal?
Well, number one, George, I mentioned that intercontinental ballistic missile program that Iran continues to develop. It was not on the table as part of that deal. Those missiles could one day reach America. You only build ICBMs for one reason, George. That's to mount them with a nuclear warhead. Now, why would Iran want to do that? So that's number one. Number two, everyone needs to remember that Iran still considers America the great Satan. They're very open about it. The supreme leader of Iran, as these negotiations were going on this week, led chants of death to America among millions of Iranians in the streets of Tehran. The ideology of the Iranian regime is one that seeks not only the destruction of Israel, but yes, the destruction of America.
John, to you, sir, Congress has basically about 60 days to review this. Will it try to stop the deal?
Oh, I think without question, Congress will try to stop the deal. But really, the train has left the station here, George. I mean, they can put rejection to it, but what's going to happen is the parties are going to divide. The Republicans and Democrats are already deeply divided, not only over foreign policy, but domestic policy. And so what it's going to become is a political football. And in the meantime, President Obama is going to move forward and trying to cement his legacy.